Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you all know that myself Pratibha Eswar. Today I am here to discuss about the course called Digital Communication. In digital communication, I am going to discuss about the different techniques used in digital TV broadcasting. Firstly, let us go through the introduction. Firstly, let us know the meaning of modulation. Modulation is defined as the process of superimposing a low frequency signal on a high frequency carrier signal, or the process of varying the RF carrier wave in accordance with the information in a low frequency signal. Modulation and demodulation to involve data information or the speech information. Another way has to be imposed known as an input signal above the carrier wave. This process of imposing an input signal on the carrier wave is known as modulation. Put differently, modulation modifies the shape of a carrier wave to encode the data information that we intended on carrying. Modulation is similar to hiding code in the carrier wave. In the diagram, we are going to see about the different types of digital modulation and analog modulation. In digital modulation, it includes ASK, amplitude shift keying, FSK, frequency shift keying, PSK, phase shift keying. And in analog modulation, there are four types: amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, phase modulation, and PMW. Now, let us go through what are all the techniques which were involved in digital TV broadcasting. Here are some modulation techniques used in digital TV broadcasting. The first and foremost one is amplitude shift keying, which is nothing but as ASK, a digital modulation technique that transfers the original signal and the carrier signal. The second technique is quadrature amplitude modulation, nothing but as QAM. It is a modulation technique that combines both the analog and digital techniques. The signal that results from modulation varies in both amplitude and phase. Frequency shift keying. FSK, it is a digital modulation technique that changes the frequency of analog carrier waves to match the digital message signal. The third one is phase shift keying, nothing but as PSK. It is a digital modulation technique which conveys data by changing the phase of a carrier wave with a constant frequency. Phase modulation is the modulation technique that is often used in digital transmission, coding schemes, and satellite television. It is also widely used for transmitting radio waves. The first one is amplitude shift keying, nothing but as ASK. It is a form of amplitude modulation which represents digital data as variations in the amplitude of the carrier wave. In the amplitude shift keying system, a symbol representing one or more bits is sent by transmitting a fixed amplitude carrier wave at a fixed frequency for a specific time duration. For example, if each symbol represents a single bit, then the carrier signal could be transmitted at the nominal amplitude when the input value is 1, but transmitted at reduced amplitude or not at all when the input value is 0. The amplitude shift keying diagram is given here. The first one will represent the digital bit sequence followed by ones and zeros, and the second waveform will represent the carrier wave, and the third one is the ASK modulated wave. Any digital modulation scheme which uses a finite number of distinct signals to represent digital data. The ASK uses an infinite or finite number of amplitudes, each assigned a unique pattern of binary digits. Usually, each amplitude encodes an equal number of bits. Each pattern of bits forms the symbol that is represented by the particular amplitude. The demodulator, which is designed specifically for the symbols set used by the modulator, and it determines the amplitude of the received signal and it maps it back to the symbol it represents, thus recovering the original data. Frequency and phase of the carrier are kept constant. The second technique is quadrature amplitude modulation, nothing but as QAM. It is the name of a family of the digital modulation methods, and it is a related family of analog modulation methods which was widely used in modern telecommunications to transmit the information. It conveys two analog message signals or two digital bit streams by changing or modulating the amplitudes of two carrier waves using the amplitude shift keying digital modulation scheme or amplitude modulation analog modulation scheme. The two carrier waves are of the same frequency and are out of phase with each other by 90 degree, a condition known as orthogonality or quadrature. The transmitted signal is created by adding the two carrier waves together at the receiver. The two waves can be coherently separated or demodulated because of their orthogonality property. The another key property is that the modulations are low frequency or low bandwidth waveforms, which is compared to the carrier frequency, and it is known as narrowband assumption. The third technique is frequency shift keying, nothing but as FSK. FSK is a digital modulation technique in which the frequency of the carrier signal varies according to the digital signal changes. FSK is a scheme of frequency modulation. The output of a FSK modulated wave is high in frequency for a binary high input and it is low in the frequency for a binary low input. The binary ones and zeros are called mark and space frequencies. The following image is a diagrammatic representation of FSK modulated waveform along with its input. The FSK modulated output wave to find the process of obtaining this FSK modulated wave. And the figure has been shown here for the frequency shift key. The first one represents the digital bit streams like zeros and ones, and the second one, which includes the higher frequency carrier wave, and the third one is the lower frequency carrier wave, and the fourth one is FSK modulated wave. And the another technique is phase shift keying, which is nothing but as PSK. The phase shift keying is the digital modulation technique in which the phase of the carrier signal is changed by varying the sine and cosine inputs at a particular time. PSK technique is widely used for wireless LANs, biometric, contactless operations, along with RFID and Bluetooth communications. The phase shift keying is of two types. Depending upon the phases, the signals get shifted. They are binary shift keying, which is nothing but as BPSK. This is also called as two-phase PSK or phase reversal keying. In this technique, the sine wave carrier takes two phase reversals such as 0 degree and 180 degree. BPSK is basically a double sideband suppressed carrier modulation scheme for message being the digital information. Quadrature phase shift keying QPSK. This is the phase shift keying technique in which the sine wave carrier takes four phase reversals such as 0 degree, 90 degree, 180 degree, and 270 degree. In these kind of techniques are further extended, and the PST can be done by 8 or 16 values also, depending upon the requirements. And the waveforms of BPSK modulated output or PSK modulated outputs is shown in the below figure. Thank you.